So Siam is a serial entrepreneur, angel investor, and community builder, passionate about technology, career development, and social impact. As the founder of, I don't know how to say it. Algorithm. He helps skilled immigrants land high-paying tech jobs, contributing millions to the US economy. He also leads.
Which one is that? Zenos Wealth.
Zenos Wealth, a firm dedicated to growing wealth for immigrants. Committed to education, he founded higher study abroad, supporting 210,000 students worldwide. We're so lucky to have Siam. He's just in Sydney for a month, and he agreed to just come and speak to us. He's based in New York, so we're so happy to have him here. Thank you, Siam.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'll give a little bit of the backstory. So my brother lives in Parramatta, and I was just trying to escape the New York cold. The day I was flying out, it was -8, and I just landed in Sydney, and I basically was looking for a co-working spot, and I found this one because it's very close to Parramatta. And I met Caroline, and then I met Tommy there. And basically, they're so welcoming. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come in for a month in this place. So this is basically the backstory. Please do subscribe to this community. Amazing thing what you guys are building here. Before going to this one, a lot of interesting stuff in the previous session with Dr. Marcus. I loved the slide where he spoke about, basically kind of showed the whole journey. And I don't know if you guys, how long are you guys doing startup or what stage you are in? But I love that there is always this dead valley. Normally we think that, okay, from 0 to 1, there's this dead valley, and after that everything is just green pasture, which is not. You can die even when you have raised Series B, C, you can die anytime. So that was really good for me, just as a reminder. However, I still think that in the beginning, the 0 to 1, the first death valley is probably the hardest death valley because you have not seen that kind of destruction before, where you can actually put 3-4 years of your life and die, the startup can die. And that is a very hard resilience mindset, which you have to learn. And after you have learned the first one, the second ones become a little easier. So my whole talk will be about the 0 to 1, because I think that's the first hardest death valley to cross. So who am I? My name is Siam Hussain. I'm from a lot of places. So I was born in Bangladesh originally. When I was a month old, my family moved to Saudi Arabia, so that's where I grew up. And I've been living in the US for the last 16 years. And I'm visiting Sydney, as I just said. A little bit of the personal story on why I started this is, so when I moved to the US, I had an American dream, and maybe if some of you are immigrants, is anyone here considering displaced immigrant, moved from their home countries? Anyone raise of hands? Amazing. Yeah, a lot, maybe half of the room. And actually, it doesn't have to be immigrant. The main thesis here is that you feel displaced, not home, wherever you are. That's the main struggle. So when I moved to the US, I had a dream of basically US is the land of opportunity. And after finishing my engineering degree from a US school in electrical engineering, instead of building electric cars, I found myself whipping gyros in New York, halal food trucks. I don't know if you know halal food trucks in New York. So I was selling gyros while having an electrical engineering degree. Gyros are euros, I think here it's called. Fajitas, I don't know. Yeah, wraps. And I made actually a lot, and I think it was probably one of my hardest time financially in my life. I was questioning why did I move to the US, and why do I have to do this? And I remember that I was working probably 10 hours every day and got $50, which was not even a minimum wage. And I met so many smart people. I had few friends who are one was a physicist who was also selling gyro. Another was a nuclear engineer. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you selling gyros? But this is the harsh reality. Not only me, actually, a lot of immigrants face, and I'll try to give some data. So, too many animations in this slide. So every year there are 200,000 international students, which is a sub-segment of the immigrants in the US. They graduate from US schools and they join 2 million other underskilled, high skilled but underpaid workforce, and they're that's that 2 million in the gyro stands, and basically which is like 10 billion in lost revenue per year in the US. I'm just scoping the US here. However, you might think that why would anyone care about this? But 31 million people in the US, which is 1/10 of the country's population, most of the Nobel Prize in the country, half of the Fortune 500 CEOs in the US are immigrants. So it's kind of doesn't make sense that why are you not supporting this group? And I have a mentor who kind of I met a few years ago, and he said that, hey, you have to have a little bit longer vision. And my longer vision or my longer mission in life is to help the overall global migrant adjustment crisis, let's say. So basically, by 2050, there will be 1 billion people throughout the world who are getting displaced from their home countries, either because of climate change, because those places are not livable anymore, or because of war or political conflicts. So 1 billion people will be displaced by 2050. And I want to be either the migration company or the supporter of this ecosystem. So that's my longer, let's say, forever mission. I'll give a little bit TLDR impact because I want to create more value to you guys and not talk about me the whole session. I have 3 primary companies. One is a nonprofit, which I started 10 years ago. It's called Higher Study Abroad. We help international students from all over the world to move to the US. That has more than 210,000 members. I have my second company, my second baby or child, however you call it, it's 4 years old. That one is a for-profit company which has added 13 million in the US, market and through job placement. And then recently, this is literally three weeks old. This one is a hedge fund for immigrants. So I am basically connecting the dots, looking back that okay, I'll help you come to the US, land your first job, and now you have your job, now you have money. Let's build generational wealth. So that's my third company. Yeah. This is just someone who's saying it's like a second family. All right, so a lot of talks and a lot of wisdoms and amazing wisdoms. To be honest, I have to go back home and basically jot down what I've learned today. But this is basically, I would say, if I had to, I thought about this, that what is the singular most important thing which I could accredit back to in terms of my success. Not that I'm successful, I'm just barely learning. But the number one fundamental, if you want to take away anything from this session, is that a rewiring of the word networking, which I thoroughly hate, and basically rewiring it to the concept of giving. And so whenever I go to a networking event or networking with anyone, my intent is generally just that I'm strategizing how can I help them. That's the only strategy I'm thinking. That, oh, maybe I can help them directly, maybe I can help them connect with someone. And I have seen this is always coming back to me. This is proven mathematically, quantitatively in my life, but this is my fundamental formula. And yeah, everything we achieve worthwhile in life is because of relationships. And yeah, the same message, give first. In any transaction, give first. And actually, even what Marcus said in his previous session, his co-founder, the whole story, if you look at it, it's all about relationships. A little bit of enough about me. I wanted to know, these are not real percentages, this is automated slides. Can I have a raise of hands, and you can be all 4 of them also, not an issue. On whichever segment you are in, so let's go with around, who is a working professional, not a student here? Can I have a raise of hands? Okay.
I think it was.
That is currently, yeah. Okay, so yeah, it is 25%, interestingly, this is working very well. Student or explorer in the startup, or actually student, let's say. Student. Okay, little less student, or I love lifelong students. Early stage entrepreneur, let's say 0 to 1 level. Okay, great. A lot actually should be maybe 40%. And scale up, a little bit more advanced. scale up level. Great, awesome. One person. Two, okay, sorry, yeah. Two people. Great, well, whichever person you are, the fundamentals I'll talk about will be applicable for every stage, because if you are a working professional, if you want to move up the ladder, this tactics could help. If you're a student who is looking for a new job, this would help. It's literally the same formula, but the end customer will be different. Early stage, same scaling, it's basically the same formula. It doesn't matter. It's agnostic on who you are, but good to know. So, wait, so actually I am in the, great, thank you so much. All right, so this is a formula which I have been following, and I just took some time, actually yesterday night I'm making this presentation to jot this down at like 1 a.m. basically. Is basically, this is the framework fundamentally I'll be talking about today, and we'll have some homework to you if you want to do the homework. So in general, for every person you are, irrespective of the customer type, it can be an investor, let's say investor is also a customer, a business, at the end of the business there is also a human. If it is a direct customer, that's also a customer. All of these people can be customers, and all of them can go through this funnel, which is first empathize, and then engage, and then earn. And I'll go with each step in the next slides, basically for the next 20 minutes on breaking down the tactics for each stage. And you cannot actually mix and match the tactics in the different stages. You have to follow the structure. And I will actually go through there is a little bit of color coding in my slide. When I'm talking about empathize, it will be the red ones. When I'm talking about engage, it will be the green ones, and earn, it will be the blue ones. All right, so I'll go with some, let's actually target the example of early stage entrepreneurs. I feel like 40% of the room is that, so that could be a good example statement. So in the goal of this is the empathize slide, the first thing is that identify and validate the core problem. I think you understand this very basically, and what I want you to do is that after each of these slides, like each of these segments, I'll have a maybe like 2 minutes reflection / question session. And I would want you to think basically what you're learning, because I want to see how you are seeing this thing. So the first thing is generally, a lot of people think about building a product. Well, I have built this tool, like, I don't want to hear about your tool. What is your user's pain point? And it has to start with empathizing. Because the moment we start thinking that, oh, this is a B2B business, I also invest. So this is also something I look at founders. Oh, I'm building this AI tool and I'm like, at the end of the day, there is a human sitting in this business. The buying decision is being made by a human. What is the suffering of the human you are reducing? And let's talk about that suffering and not about what you're building first. So that's the first thing, talking to user, genuinely empathizing with them as they're humans. Even investors are investing because they have some incentive to invest. So what is their struggle? What makes them motivated? These are the main questions we have to continuously go back to as basics, as founders, especially in the 0 to 1. Talk to users, ask about their biggest struggles. On the bottom of the slide, I'll go through a sample problem statement because I wanted to have some specifics. So this is like this is a healthy meal prep solution or product for busy parents. This is like a hypothetical startup. And for that, it could be that, okay, so if I'm building a healthy meal prep pan for busy parents, what do I do? I'm like, I'll think that, okay, where can I find the most amount of users who are basically these parents, busy parents? So maybe I'll start going to the Facebook groups or figure out where they're hanging out and figure out what is their frustration. Their frustration could be they're very busy, they're not getting time to cook because they have to feed their kids. So yeah, no time for healthy meals. That's the number one frustration. Very important also, and this is actually part of your homework or like practice statement. is having a very clear persona, and that persona has to be continuously and perpetually being updated, because your end user is not always stagnant, but whatever it is, it has to be first written down for you as a founder, but also communicated well to the team, because you'll see that once you scale the company, team does not understand the problem. So very important to have like a very simple kind of like screenshot. I actually gave this as a homework. Customer type, and we have like a specific thing that characteristics, emotion. I'll go through the example. So busy working parents who juggle 60 hours weeks. So that's one of the characteristics. And another one is minimal family time. Another characteristics. Feel stressed. So there is a lot about emotion of problems. So feel stressed about feeding kids nutritious meals. And what are they doing? So to deal with this, they are currently using alternative solutions despite alternative solutions' shortcomings. So that's the line. Because they see low energy and mode to deal with this, blah, blah. I think you understand the idea. Create a narrative to resonate. So this is the third step, and I have not yet talked about any product, any software yet. These are still in the empathize. We're trying to understand the person. Very important. Once we understand this problem and we have like created a specific persona, crafting a story that resonates with their emotional or logical needs, and also addressing the problem using the languages they use in public. So let's see if I have figured out in Twitter or Facebook, doesn't matter where I found this group. What I would do is that literally just go to Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever is the social area, like the public area, and say that, oh, hey, I understand you, and write some statements so that they feel heard. That, okay, like, oh, you genuinely understand my pain point. So let's say instead of saying our service optimizes nutrition, which is the most startup way of saying anything, we know that 6 p.m. dinner time, rush, it's stressful. Imagine having tasty, ready-made meal plans that take just 15 minutes each night. So completely resonating and talking to the users directly in front of everyone. So this is the thing. So anyway, we can probably, this is the main thing, 3 things about empathizing with the end user. I wanted to hear maybe from your side, any interesting reflections you have from this, any interesting light bulb moment. I wanted to have like maybe 1 or 2, and then we can move on to the next slide. Any interesting insights you wanted to share? Yeah. Sure.
So my reflection would be one of us becoming a startup, me and other people in my cohort at the time, thinking that we have to create something new to come up with a creative solution in addressing a pain point. However, later down the track, I realized that it's not about creating something new entirely, because the problem we're trying to address has been long-standing. So if that's the case, my approach changed. My approach changed into how do I bridging the gap or the connection between available services for the community that is supposed to help, because it's not about, there's not enough solution in the world. It's more about how come these things are available, yet people don't use it. So then that would be my service. I changed my approach from creating a product into providing a service.
Yeah. Amazing, thanks for sharing. And this is the fundamental which we, especially founders, are so prone to forget, because I've forgot this so many times. Founders, and because we are humans, we have this natural tendency of having ego, which is like whenever I'm spending 2 years in solving one problem, I get so married and attached to my solution that I forget that the original reason I started this is because helping others. And that is something the founders have to recenter all the time, and letting go of that ego, that my solution might not be the best solution. But thanks for sharing that. And the more we are listening to actually this is why most of the companies fail, because they start forgetting the fundamentals and they go away from listening to the users. Second one, about converting the consumers to the community, and I'll tell what does consumer mean here. So let's say I am already in the second stage, which is that I am a little bit active in the social media, resonating with these users that, hey, I understand your pain point. I'm a little bit active in whichever social media, doesn't matter, pick any. And move from the one-way street where you post and they consume, start thinking, how do I make it bi-directional so that they can also communicate with each other? That we start bringing this little group and they can communicate with each other. And this is something I call the minimum viable community. So instead of exposing your ideas and like solutions in front of, I don't know, let's say 1,000 people, you figure out who are the first 10 or 20 people who are the biggest evangelists, like the most engaged in your comments or the most vocal. Treat them as your collaborators and start building, like thinking of that, okay, these are my first recruits. These are the people I want to bring into as a closed community. So how do I do it? The one sample for my previous idea or previous problem statement is that create a private Facebook group or Discord channel titled Healthy Meals for Busy Parents and host a 5-day quick dinner challenge. When people sign up, they gain access to the community and then daily 20 minutes meal ideas, shopping list. So again, like you are creating some separation between just consumer who are just listening to you and giving likes to more engaged people, and they're your close cloud. And then very important that once you are in this cloud, fostering real connections, very important. So your goal is not to basically be the ultimate solution provider, necessarily solve all their problems, but your goal is to basically create a safe environment where the members of your close community feel comfortable sharing, exchanging ideas with each other. So you can do it by like kickstarting conversations by sharing some prompts, weekly prompts, some challenges, interesting challenges. Encourage members to share their stories, questions. So you're more like a, what should I say, like a ecosystem charger, not actually like, you're not doing anything directly. So in the group example, post a weekly prompt, what was your biggest dinner win this week? People are sharing pictures, recipes, congratulations. They're like creating these bonding moments in your group in front of everyone. Very important, create routine and rituals. And rituals is basically what is the ultimate moat or defensibility of a community. If you look at any, actually I've been going a little bit outside of the zone topic, but anything, any community, could be a religious community, any kind of community sticks because of rituals, because there is a daily habits. They're following like a machine. And once you keep doing it for a while, it becomes like, oh, I'm missing this. I used to go for a coffee and lunch with these 3 people. I'm missing them. So a very important part of creating a community like stickiness is through creating routines. And how do you create the routines is think about like hosting some regular touch points, maybe a weekly Zoom call, office hours. Think of some routine, what would be the frequency, that is something you have to determine. Yeah, I think examples would be scheduling a Sunday meal prep Zoom hangout where everyone is basically sharing lunches or dinners together on camera. And after a few weeks, actually after you run this for a few weeks, there will be people who are saying that, hey, I can also run these sessions. So you're already picking leaders from your own rituals. Okay, so this is the end of the second segment, which is engage. So the first one was empathize, you understood them. Now you're engaging them, creating this like habits. So in this, any interesting reflection you had, any interesting light bulb moments you want to share, whatever you resonate.
Yeah, so I'm also in like an early stage entrepreneur, and I'm in the very early stages. We're just moving beyond the ideation stage to actually starting to create something. And I found something that I guess frustrated me initially, and I got lazy with, was having to explain, like just the effort of having to explain the business over and over again. You know, every time you sell it and pitch it, and I think I resorted, rather than spending time to really like focus on that, you know, the solution of the problem, and you know, speak to people's like pain points. I was just like solution oriented, and just, you know, create a pitch deck and just send it out to whoever showed a little bit of interest, and just like, oh yeah, And I realized like I have these people who I'm like in my head, oh yeah, they're signed on, they like my idea, but you made me realize like no, that I don't actually have like it's not even really a network. Like I need to transition from having people in my head or in my LinkedIn or I'm sharing emails with to creating a community that so to keep them updated on what's going on and get their feedback and yeah, so that's a light bulb moment.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And actually, when you were sharing this, something came to my mind is basically in the engaged stage, one of the big realizations of like running a big community is that I realized very early on that I am unscalable with my time. Like I have completely finite amount of time, like everyone, but I have to find like little clones of me. So like the bigger the idea sync I have with someone, then I'm very passionate about immigration. I'm talking about it with everyone. So there will be maybe from this group also like, oh hey, I really liked your immigration mission, and like okay, we are aligned. And then, this is a little clone version of me, not a full clone, but 10% clone. And basically, that's the people I want to supercharge in the engage. So that's the idea. I'll go to the last kind of like segment, which is the earn, and then we'll go through the homework or mini workshop, however you say. So once you have basically been doing this engagement loops, like this repetition is happening regularly, honestly, I think you have done majority of the problems, like solved it. You just have to be an observer of what they are conversing about in front of you. That's it. Actually, the problem is almost solved that you have to see which pain point is most frequently mentioned or most urgent. You can see in the discussions in the forum. What are the gaps people are trying to patch with the manual workarounds? Like they're going through a little bit struggle to solve it. They're like, that's your opportunity. Like, okay, great. And then honestly, the MVP, I know that people start building MVP from completely out of thin air, but I would actually start building the MVP only for the MVC, which is the minimum viable community, which I have already built. Because they're already saying what they want. I just have to pick and choose, and the way I pick is to whatever is my biggest strength with my current team, not something which I don't have right now. And whatever is their biggest pain point, you just solve whatever you can solve at that moment. So that's it. And actually designing the product, this is another very important, this is a bonus advantage. If you can design the product, MVP, also to supercharge the community, it's even better. Instead of just solving, how does your product make the community even more engaged? If you can have that loop, even better. So solution could be consistent requests for quick grocery list, create a pilot meal planning membership where members test 4 weeks of the meal kit ideas, and they provide feedback. I think we're already going to the MVP stage for that meal planning company. I think you get understand that idea. So we already talked about the 3E, and now we have the 3D. And I think that's where it ends today. We'll not have 3C, 3B, or 3A today. That's for the next presentation. I'm just kidding. This is where it ends. 3D business model is something which is very good for, again, this is a specific type of, because this presentation was called Community to Cashflow. This is a specific type of monetization and building a product. Not necessarily you have to build it this way, but this is one arm you can build. Like this is one way to build a company. So for community-driven businesses, these are pretty much technically the only 3 ways you can monetize. The first one is DIY, which you know, which is do it yourself. This is mostly like a tool which is extremely low price point, and you are pretty much zero in that. You're not doing anything. So it could be like an ebook or a template or a list or a course, and you are just giving the knowledge or the tool, and they are doing it. You are not doing anything. So that's the DIY. The done with you is a little bit more collaborative. So mostly these are like cohort based. Think of a community as a cohort. And basically it can be a closed mastermind, like a group session, but you are doing it at scale. So everyone is paying a little bit less. So it's like a cohort based model. And the DFY is done for you. You are a king and you just pay me more money and I'll basically do the whole thing, which is basically a service, like a concierge service. So you are solving the entire problem set for the customer. And your monetization funnel can actually be all three of them. You can figure out which way you want to go with. And the DFY will be the biggest ticket, but will be the lowest number of clients. But I don't think, and a lot of people actually start doing the DFY first. And that is, in my opinion, a very difficult path to go, because every person who wants a concierge service from you will have their own interesting personalization twist or request. And you will eventually basically burn out because you cannot do so many things for so many customer requests. So I would start with the DIY, gain the momentum and the fame, then slowly go to the second and go to the third. And if you go this way, you do not have to do any kind of outbound like sales. People will come to you because they already know. You have already given this ebook, you already are a person in this segment. And then, I mean, this is the last one for today in terms of the strategy or frameworks. The growth can honestly be led by community. Remember that your community members, you already have figured out the evangelists, and they should be doing the marketing for you and not you. So that's always better when someone else is telling great things about you. How do you do it? That give the community first tips or some discounts for giving feedback to you, honest feedback about your product, or giving you some social proof that, hey, if you give a testimonial, I'll give you 20% discount. And then if you are really able to make someone happy, they will become ambassadors, that's natural. And the way you can do it, example, announce the new planning membership to your Facebook group. Oh, founding members, great. You guys are the founding members. I'll give you 20% discount for 3 months. And then also you can reuse this as marketing material. Yeah. I think for this is it. Any interesting, so this was the earn slide. You actually are monetizing your engaged community. Any interesting insights which clicked with you, resonated with you, or you wanted to share anything from this?
Thanks so much, Sam. That was great. A question. So the way that you walked us through the model, it seems amazing for B2C type offerings. So how would you adapt this to a B2B type service or product?
Thank you so much for asking this question. I actually, coming back to the fundamentals, I do not see B2Bs as B2Bs. At the end of the day, B2B, whenever my mind is going to the B2B, I'm thinking that at the end of this desk and the table, who is this person sitting? What is their purchasing power? And how do I resonate with them? So the first formula completely works with these people, because I'm not treating them as businesses, I'm treating them as humans, and I'm trying to genuinely understand that how can I solve your problem? So that is, the B2Bs are also B2Cs in my opinion, just with bigger ticket sizes. You are right that there is a little bit, the engagement might not be equal. Again, it depends on your specific use case. But would you agree that B2Bs are also B2Cs in the way that they're also humans?
They're customers.
They're customers, and they're human customers, not like machines.
It's just they're acting on behalf of end users.
That is true, and
Intermediary type models,
yeah, and whenever I'm thinking, that's a good point. Whenever I'm thinking of basically this kind of model, I would not probably mix the B2B to B2B to C. The B2B can be a separate gang. Let's say if I'm catering towards the doctors, let's say doctor is a B2B here, or patient is a B2C, for example. I would actually create a doctor's cloud and think that, hey, how can I help them as an end user, and just have their own community, separate community, and then separate community for patients. Does it answer your question, more or less? What was your question?
No, that's good. It's how do we, rework that approach into, distributed type models or
when you become a marketplace. Marketplaces are a little bit difficult to crack. They are always, you will always hear successful marketplace stories, but there are so many deaths happening in the marketplace. Because once you are a marketplace, you have the network effect and you have the moat, so that it's almost impossible to remove them from the market anymore because they have this network effect. But if I was building a marketplace, again, which is very hard, I would probably try to cater towards one group of people first, instead of trying to solve a marketplace in the 0 to 1, because it's very difficult. I'll think that, okay, I'm not a marketplace now, maybe start with the B2B side of the marketplace first, and I'm not even going to say anything about the clients. I build it for 3-4 years on the B2B side, and then slowly I start building the B2C. This is how I would say. See it as almost 2 separate companies, and eventually it will become a marketplace. There is a very good book called The Platform Revolution. It shows the case studies of the early days of Airbnb, early days of Uber, how they hacked the first 1,000 customers, and then basically like hacked the whole system for marketplace. But also remember that bootstrapping a marketplace is extremely difficult, and that's why there's so much VC money, because the way you win the marketplace is just by burning money and capturing users and losing money, and you don't even know that if you will succeed. Many of the marketplaces die. Anyway, long tangent, hopefully my answer. We can talk later. Yeah.
Less a question, but also a reflection to go off your one with that one for a B2B as well. Looking at the product and looking at it, and this is a reflection from my business where I work at as well, doing for them, you want to think from your base business as well, because if you're doing for them, if you create that habit, but also understanding it can diminish your ability for scalability. Because especially if you're working with business and development and technology, give an example of your bespoke and required development time and building, and the expectation from all those businesses that you're going to give that doing for them, then you have to put that time requirement in, an inability to scale with your technology requirements, because staff are very costly, and trying to expand while trying to have the ability to expand with them makes it very difficult.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. No, I'm a living example of that problem. In my community of recruitment platform, I had the DIY, which is I built the platform of, if you want to find a doctor, I built the tools for them to post jobs and engage with the doctors and connect them to, and charge less price, DIY. Then I had you
Done with you.
Not done with you, the other one.
Done for you.
Done for you. I didn't have a middle one. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Done for you was, to his point, it was giving us a lot of money because we are doing it for them and they're paying, prepared to pay a lot of money. But the scalability becomes an issue for us because it's human assisting. Well, now we have AI. I'm hoping that we could put AI to support that, but it really, it's a reflection for me. There was always balancing that being very hard. Where do I focus? DIY or done for you?
Definitely, very hard decision also. And actually, even in Marcus's story, the reason we go with the done for you is because of lack of cash flow. If we had infinite money, we would never go with that route. The only reason we go is that startups are always struggling, in the beginning more struggling. And whenever there's money, like, oh, I want to listen to it because it's paying me. But I think the easy decision making is that, okay, how much bending do I have to do? If it is 5% bend, sure. But there has to be a cutoff in terms of resource allocation. That if you're bending my path too much, sorry, I have to let you go. That's it. So I think that's the. But thanks for sharing.